So when you're in a chronic state of stress, which so many of us are now, the first thing that goes is your digestion. Your body actually shuts down your digestion.
On the mic with us today is Rachel Mitchell, a certified functional nutrition counselor.
Getting nourishment in from your food. I mean, it has to come from your food. Your body runs on the food that you put in it.
From battling a family health crisis to uncovering the healing power of nutrition, Rachel's story is a testament to the power of taking control of your health.
You are responsible for a lot of your own healing. So he took responsibility for it, recognized that a lot of the stuff he was putting into his body was not helpful.
Today, Rachel is here to share her family's story and how she fought back against adversity, how she discovered the importance of nourishment from within.
So your body is constantly replacing cells. Our goal is to allow a microenvironment for those cells to grow healthy. Because as we learned, cancer, as we approach it, is a metabolic disease. And so it grows. And it's growing because the environment around the cell is not conducive to a healthy cell. It's trying to live, so it has to change into a cancer cell in order to survive. It's really going back to a really ancient way of living by fermenting. So the way to change that environment is to change that microenvironment around the cell. And the way you do that is eating nourishment.
I'm your host, Ina Korobkina, founder of Jewel Branding Studios and creator of the Business in Style fashion course for entrepreneurs. And
I'm Ingrid J. Monday, aka Ms. Monday, a photographer and filmmaker and the author of the book, The Secrets of Becoming a Boss Bitch with a Heart of Gold.
welcome to another episode of the Rise Up and Fix It podcast.
Dear listener, this is Ina Korobkina. It's been a pleasure being your host the last couple of seasons. My life is taking me in a new direction and I will no longer be hosting this podcast. But my dear friend Ingrid is going to continue on this journey and she's going to bring you incredible guests, incredible conversations, and I hope you will support her as she does so. I wish her nothing but the best, and I know this podcast is going to be incredibly valuable to so many people and continue to touch many, many lives. Good luck, Ingrid. On the mic with us today is Rachel Mitchell, a certified functional nutritionist and founder of Nourished to Heal, a private practice that helps guide clients to change their eating and lifestyle habits. When Rachel's husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, together they decided to become responsible for his healing and worked hard to beat cancer by implementing an integrative approach, which involves a change to his diet. Welcome to our podcast, Rachel. We're so happy that you can join us today.
Thank you.
For our audience who are not familiar with your work and you, can you tell us how you came to discover the healing power of nutritious food? Can you give us a little bit of your backstory?
Yes, I'm happy to give you a quick backstory. Two things. The first biggie was my daughter. My youngest child at 5 was having really bad GI issues, throwing up every day. And so we had to get to the bottom of it, discovered that she had celiac disease. So that kind of threw us into the world of food and nutrition. And at the exact same time, actually, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she chose to just use a holistic path. So food was a huge, integral part of her working on healing as well. So that was the first major introduction to it. And then certainly my husband's stage 4 colon cancer diagnosis absolutely threw us into the world of nutrition. We've been together since high school, so I've been with him for a really long time and have followed his GI journey for a long time. So watching the power of food and lifestyle, diet and lifestyle, the impact it's made on his health is priceless. There's no, and certainly my daughter too is in fantastic health now compared to when this is 13 years ago now. So she certainly has done a complete 180. So there's been a lot of impact from nourishing food in my past, and that's absolutely pushed me into doing this. So
amazing. How was that? How long did that journey take from start to finish? And what was the hardest part of changing the lifestyle and the diet?
It's a slow progression. All of it is a slow progression because you're learning as you're going. And so it's not like one day it was this and the next day it's this, because when you're learning how your body's reacting to things, it's a process. It's a journey. And so things are constantly changing. So even today, I mean, we'll definitely go off track. Someone will go off track. All of us have various and assorted health conditions that you get off the highway and then you get back on the highway. So it's just recognizing what to do to get back on, to help yourself get back on.
So, what do you think was one of the major changes that you did to your diet to get you started? Like, what was it? Like, were you eating pizza and Cheetos and like fast food? Or yeah, but I don't know. People wonder, right? Like,
yeah. No, we weren't. I mean, as I mentioned, we have 3 daughters, and my youngest was diagnosed with celiac 13 years ago. So 13 years ago, she and I kind of teamed up as a team and went gluten-free, dairy-free, tried all the things to try to help her get better. And slowly my other daughters kind of came on board. And certainly Jake, who's my husband, was in the mix there, but he was not really on board as much as the rest of us. So he was definitely on the side doing his own diet compared to the rest of the family. So kind of wish I had brought him on board a lot sooner. But when he was first diagnosed, he did a 180 overnight. I'm done. No alcohol. He did a raw vegan diet for 90 days. Prior to that, he was your typical beer drinking, pretzel eating, kind of guy, football watching, guy, still likes to watch football, but no longer having the pretzels and beer while he watches. So yeah, it was taking responsibility. We learned really early on, Chris beat cancer was a huge impact for us. And so we learned really early on that you need to take responsibility for what's going on inside of you. It's certainly there are outside forces that you cannot control, but you are responsible for a lot of your own healing. So he took responsibility for it, recognized that a lot of the stuff he was putting into his body was not helpful, and did a 180. So he started off with a 90-day raw vegan diet. We juiced 64 ounces of vegetable juice a day, and he literally did a raw diet for 90 days. And then slowly, over time, incorporated some more cooked foods. And now we've settled into kind of I don't want to say vegan. It's not vegan. We do eat animal products on occasion, but definitely just on occasion. So very plant-forward diet, certainly as whole food plant-based, as few chemicals and pesticides. We avoid all the toxins coming in as best we can. So, but yeah, he really took charge of it, and you have to make a decision for yourself that you're going to do this, because you can't force someone else into it. That has to be them. Certainly they're the one eating the food, and it's got to be up to them to do the work.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you say you went raw vegan. So automatically, first thing that comes to mind is just eat a lot of vegetables, right?
Yeah.
And in our conversation before this podcast, I remember us discussing the. So I'll tell the listeners. So I have this situation at home where my father, he pops a lot of antacids. He's the kind of guy that loves the meat potatoes, doesn't eat a lot of greens, and he'll pop like Tums or Rolaids almost after every meal. And I always say to my dad is like, I'm so lucky that he's still so healthy, but I always wonder, like, is that a normal thing to be popping acids? And then in our conversation, you said something about acid being important. Can you talk a little bit about that with our listeners?
Yes, happy to. I love talking about acid, stomach acid. It's one of my soapboxes. The answer is that normal? No, it's not normal, but it's commonplace. That is not what's supposed to be happening. But unfortunately, he's definitely not the only person that does that. I would say the majority of people do that. Majority of people do not. Our GI system is just not working as it's supposed to. So yeah, your stomach is supposed to be acidic. We've been kind of trained that we're supposed to take in acids. It's supposed to be acidic. It's supposed to be about 1 to 3 on the pH scale for a reason. You kill, as soon as goes into your stomach, it's killing pathogens on your food, parasites on your food. It also helps to break down lots of nutrients, proteins, iron, to absorb iron, B12. There's so many things that having adequate amounts of stomach acid does for us. And just because of so many factors, lifestyle being the biggest one, I would say. Stress is probably the biggest reason that people don't have enough stomach acid, because you are either in rest and digest or you are in fight or flight. We've both heard those sayings. You're not in both. So when you're in a chronic state of stress, which so many of us are now, the first thing that goes is your digestion. Your body actually shuts down your digestion because there's no time for digesting when you're running from a lion. We're supposed to be in that stress state for short periods of time and then recover from the stress state. But we don't. We're in a chronic state of low grade, and for a lot of people, high grade stress, and our digestion shut down. Your body is shutting down your digestion because it doesn't think this is the time to be digesting food. So the stomach acid is a big problem. And if it's going awry in your stomach, it's going awry the rest of the way through your GI system. You're just not absorbing food properly. You're not going to the bathroom properly. You're not getting, even if you were eating stellar diet, you're not getting all the nutrients out of your food.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually a low stomach acid situation, that causes heartburn like that. He's usually doesn't have enough stomach acid.
And also the foods he's choosing to eat. But
Absolutely.
From our conversation is, okay, so anyone listening, they're like, okay, I want to get healthy. We're going to get on this raw food diet.
Yeah.
And you mentioned
not everybody has to get on a raw food diet. I want to make sure I say that. It doesn't have to be, I'm not proposing a raw food diet for all people. That was a crunch time period for him to try to really quickly turn something really serious around. So I just want to make sure I say that. I don't want everyone to think if they come to me, I'm putting you on a raw food diet. I'm not.
Okay, but you are recommending to take an acid before you digest, right?
I mean, the answer is it depends. Every person is different. Every body is different. And what I do is very, very individual. So we take every individual case. I don't want to say every person needs to take acid because there are structural reasons why you might have heartburn. And in that case, you might not want to be taking acid because it's going to come right back up anyways. Some people have to slowly move towards getting rid of the antacids, but certainly making sure you're getting enough minerals in through your diet, plant forward. Supplementing can potentially be a thing. I would first start gently with some lemon water or maybe some apple cider vinegar before a meal. That helps to lower the pH in your stomach and get it back down to the pH level that it's supposed to be in before you eat. And yes, some people can and maybe should be taking an acid supplement, which is betaine HCl. But you'd want to do it after talking with someone. Make sure there isn't a structural issue going on. You want to slowly make sure that is okay for you. But having more acid in, and the other way is stress reduction. Reducing stress is one of the best ways to get more stomach acid in. You naturally make it.
Well, obviously in my father's situation, he's still eating bad. So he just has to keep taking these Rolaids, I guess. But
huge. Diet change is huge because what's happening is the food's going in. There's not enough stomach acid in there. So it's probably fermenting in his stomach. It's not moving through his GI system like it should. And it kind of ferments in there. And that, when something ferments, it bubbles up. Picture, a sourdough bread bubbling up. It bubbles up. And then the acid that is not meant to get into your esophagus, it's not supposed to be there. So that's why it burns so badly. It's supposed to be in your stomach. So your stomach is lined in a way that it's prepared for that, but it's not supposed to be in your esophagus. So that's why it's so painful. People take an antacid. It's a vicious cycle. And unfortunately, the doctor often, they're prescribing it. My husband was prescribed Pepsid for 25 years before we came to this situation. And certainly it was a sign way back when that his GI system was not working properly. I'm not saying everybody who has that problem, who has heartburn, is going to get colon cancer, but for him, it was definitely a sign that his GI system wasn't working properly. It's a sign.
So I want to take it back a step. So you had this health scare in your family and you learned the power of nutritious food. What was the next step for you to becoming a nutrition coach?
The timing was actually interesting. I was actually finishing up my schooling at about the same time that he got diagnosed. So the timing was amazing. I can't believe it happened that way. But when he got diagnosed, I had already finished this just fantastic understanding of the body, how it works, how food impacts us, lifestyle, how your GI system works, so the fact that he had colon cancer certainly was helpful for me to have some of this information. So we just started applying a lot of things that I had learned. Yes, certainly getting stomach acid under control and getting his GI system working better. getting nourishment in from your food. I mean, it has to come from your food. Your body runs on the food that you put in it. So it has to be top notch if you expect to be in good shape.
Yeah, on Instagram, I think I saw a video where you said we lose 330 billion.
We make about
we
330 billion cells, a day. So your body is constantly replacing cells. We're constantly replacing cells. So our goal is to allow a microenvironment for those cells to grow healthy.
Mhm.
Because as we learned, cancer, as we approach it, is a metabolic disease. And so it grows. And it's growing because the environment around the cell is not conducive to a healthy cell. It's trying to live. So it has to change into a cancer cell in order to survive. It's really going back to a really ancient way of living by fermenting. So the way to change that environment is to change that microenvironment around the cell. And the way you do that is eating nourishment, eating plants, eating food from the earth is how you go about changing that. So we recreate a ton of cells every day. And for example, your stomach lining actually replaces itself. I think it's every 3 to 5 days. Your stomach lining, you have a whole new stomach lining every 3 to 5 days because it's supposed to be acidic and it's designed to burn off. So your body makes it another lining for you. So what we put in is important, and you can make changes starting tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, you can make massive changes. And there is a study, I have it on my page, that, you can lower your risk for colon cancer in 2 weeks with a diet in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. What other interesting facts about digestion that are not commonly known that you would like to share?
Gosh, I think just the general idea that people don't really put together that what they eat is feeding their cells. We just think of food as calories. We've been taught to look at food as calories, and I do not address calories almost at all in my practice. Calories means nothing to me. The caloric count of something does not tell you the nourishment in the food. So I think that's one of the biggest things to get people over the hump of stop looking at the calories in the food. That is not important. You can have a very high caloric food, an avocado, for example, crazy good, healthy fats. Fats have more calories. So if someone was just looking at calories and they equate calorie with health, it's not going to go well. It doesn't go well. So, the low fat craze is one of the worst things that happened to us. The push for a low fat craze is just one of the worst things that happened because we absolutely need healthy fats in order to function. Our cell membranes are made of healthy fats. And also just the identifying of a food as this. People are like, don't eat carbs. So this is a carb. And don't eat, people go like on a low carb diet. They're like, well, I don't eat a sweet potato because that's a carb. I'm like, well, a sweet potato is more than a carb. A sweet potato has thousands of phytonutrients in it that we don't even know. We don't even know all the phytonutrients that are in it yet. Science, we're just learning about all this and spending all this time. So we don't know everything that's in a sweet potato, but it's certainly not just carbs.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's this vicious cycle of people wanting to lose weight and wanting to be healthy. Just to sum up, what you're saying is basically it all starts with managing stress and eating more wholesome food.
Yeah. It's pretty basic and simple. You know what I mean? Food used to be more nutritious. So we're having to work harder now. We didn't used to have to, everyone's like, well, my grandparents ate this and they were fine. Yet it's true, but their grandparents were eating more wholesome food. The ground was healthier in the first place. They were not bombarded. Their livers were not overtaxed with all of these toxins from the plastics, from the EMFs, from the phones. I mean, we're just bombarded with too many other things now.
From the pesticides.
From the
right?
pesticides. It's really hard. And I feel bad for people because we have to work harder and I wish it wasn't that way. I want it to be that it's just as easy as it was for our grandparents, and life was slower for them. They did not have the phone. They did not have the internet. I mean, even me, I am of the generation that we did not have the internet. I was on a word processor and, and there was no internet. So life has just gotten really fast. Our bodies cannot keep up with it. We've got to slow it down and in general. And that means making wholesome food at home. It doesn't mean we can't eat out. You can't eat out every meal. If you want to eat healthy, you can't. Because when you're going out to a restaurant, they're looking out for their bottom line. They're unfortunately not looking out for your health. So anytime you eat out, you're getting bombarded with seed oils, and they're not using real. Some of it might be real food, but they're cooking in things that aren't ideal for you, even if you go to a fancy restaurant.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
shortcuts.
gotten harder.
Yeah. So part of what you do is you try to simplify the process
I
for
am. I
people.
am really trying. That is a focus of mine lately because I see how overwhelmed people are. They're overwhelmed. There's so much information, and you second guess everything you do. And so I am trying to put a focus on simplifying, especially I do talk to a lot of cancer patients now after I've put out our cancer story, and there's so much information about what you should do for yourself and what path you should take. And this little food is going to set you over the edge, and you're going to get cancer again because you ate a cracker that had a, thing. So I'm just really trying to, it's common sense. It really is. It's common sense. We know we know what whole food is. I don't have to tell people really what whole food is, but I do sometimes have to teach them how to make it and feel good about eating it. But we've just gone way too far off into the land of processed foods, wishing that the things on the shelf were good for us, and they're not. I want it to be that everything on the shelf is good, and it's just not. So I really try to teach people how to read their labels. Start reading your labels. If you can't read your label and understand what it's telling you is in that food, then it's not a whole food for the most part. I mean, obviously there's some caveats to that, but for the most part, it's not a whole food.
So on that topic, what are some things that we should avoid, like on labels?
Most people that come to me with, I have people come to me for all kinds of things. It's not just cancer, autoimmune disease, just GI issues in general, and weight loss. And by the way, being skinny does not mean that you're healthy. You can be a skinny, not healthy person. So for the women, especially out there who are really, really, really want to be as skinny as they can, that does not equate to health. I know a lot of very sick, skinny people. So we want nourishment. We're going after nourishment. So the first thing I do with people is we look at their food intake, diet intake, their lifestyle, how they're living, stress levels. We look at a lot of things at one time, but for food, I'm usually trying, of course, to remove processed foods. That's kind of a no-brainer. We're always looking to lower sugars. I am okay with natural sugars, but still we're looking to lower some of those too. Just because it's natural doesn't mean, sugar cane itself is a natural food. It's from the earth, but it's been so GMO'd, and you can eat too much of it. So sugar, I really try to cut out grains of all kinds, honestly. I've stopped focusing on just gluten-free. Gluten is a dangerous grain for most people, but we try to lower grains in a big way overall, because especially in the United States, grains they're just covered in pesticides, really hard to get away from that. They're very GMO, and our body just does not even recognize it as a food. And that is a problem. So when we're eating things that are not actually food, it causes health issues. It's going to cause a leaky gut, and that causes pretty much every health condition you can imagine. Insulin resistance, it all just takes you down a bad path. So we're usually trying to lower grains. And in the United States, we're lowering conventional cow dairy. I am happier with an A2 dairy, which is a goat or sheep dairy, but we're usually trying to lower cow dairy because here for us, it is just the cows, you are what the animal ate. And so if the cow was eating
Corn,
grains,
yeah.
then yeah. So it's a push for lots more plants, but lowering grains and lowering sugar and lowering conventional cow dairy. We usually start there.
Well,
And sometimes that takes people really far.
Yeah. So on the topic of cow dairy, I always like to tell the story. So I'm Swedish.
Yeah.
And so I spent some time in Sweden, and Sweden, their food there is amazing. When you go to the grocery store, everything's small because it's organic. Like there's no such thing as an organic grocery store. It's all organic.
Amazing.
And I remember when I went to school there when I was 16, I went to the grocery store and I went and picked up a carton of milk, and the milk comes in like these little containers that are like this, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at the expiry date. It said valid for 7 days. And I was like, why is it that in Canada, because we're from Canada, you're in the US, but why does our milk expire in 30 days? I'm like, what has they
Right.
boiled out of it?
Yeah, it's been pasteurized. Yeah, the nutrients, most of the things on our shelf, the nutrients have been taken out and replaced with chemicals. It's just, it's really not good. It's really not good. And I don't like to scare people. Like, I don't like to be another scare tactic. But I mean, the bottom line is we really just need to start paying attention to our food, our stress levels, and just taking care of our bodies. Disease comes from not getting enough nourishment and treating our bodies terribly. So we're trying to get back to simple, trying to shore up the foundations of health before we just looking for fancy fixes for things. And even something as we learned as serious as stage 4 colon cancer, certainly we got help from the outside, but the biggest push was you need to shore up those basic things. You need to get your mind on board, nourishing food, nourish your mind, nourish your body, and it puts you in a better place.
I wish we could talk forever, but we have to cut it short here. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Please check out her website. Can you give our listeners your website so they can reach you?
Sure. It's Rachel Nourish to Heal, RACHEL, Nourish to Heal at Gmail. Excuse me. That's my website, rachelnourishtoheal.com. And that's also my email address. So you're welcome to email me. And my Instagram is also Rachel, RACHEL, Nourish to Heal. And if you go to my website, I have an ebook that is about my husband's stage 4 cancer journey that I love to share because he kicked it in 5 months and we used a lot of alternative things. So I like to put that out there.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for nourishing and healing the world, Rachel.
You're welcome.
So happy you could join
Take
us.
care, you guys.
Thank you. If you enjoyed our interview today, please share and like it.
And if you have a unique story on how you are creatively engaging with the world, we can help you share it in a multitude of different ways. We are experts in crafting stunning photos, videos, and compelling narratives. Our mission is to make you and your brand stand out.
Please visit our website, www.riseupandfixit.com, to learn more and to connect with us.